Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go up to all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here. How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date. Let's try that again. That was good and terrible. Today's date, May the 7th, 2022, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, most Will Buchanan. On the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we are a family-friendly podcast. At least we try to be. Words do fly. At the same time, there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, what do we get into this weekend? Well, I would not be doing my due diligence if we don't talk about the giant elephant in the room that will probably become a midterm hot issue. As if you hadn't already known, or if you've been under a bubble this past week, that the draft of the Supreme Court Justice's Samuel Alito's decision about overturning Roe versus Wade has came out. Keep in mind, it is a draft. It is not an official decision of the Supreme Court. It is just the opinion of one Supreme Court justice. However, the Supreme Court right now is overly conservative, and there are plenty of people that I've shown, especially during this last week's midweek review of conservative judges, that did have some very questionable looks when it comes to Roe versus Wade and abortion and women's rights in the United States. Well, I would be remiss, again, if we don't talk about it, because it definitely does matter that women's rights are now being endangered. And if you don't think this doesn't go into other areas, such as same-sex marriage, interracial relationships, and things of that nature, you are crazy. But check it out.
Say the decision over abortion should be between a woman and her doctor. There was another number in the poll as well. When asked this way, should the court uphold Roe versus Wade or overturn it? A majority, 54%, supported upholding the decision. 28% support overturning it. ABC's Rachel Scott has been reporting on this issue for many months now, on the major changes already at the state level affecting millions of women. And now this leaked draft ruling from the court set to potentially affect women across this country. Rachel Scott from Ohio tonight.
If the Supreme Court ultimately overturns Roe versus Wade, at least 26 states likely to quickly ban abortion outright, including right here in Ohio.
If abortion is outlawed in this state, what would you think?
Well, I'd say they are denying us our rights. Period.
It's a woman's right to her body. That's just not right.
You sound concerned.
Yeah, I'm upset.
But for others, today's news a big victory.
I think it's a long time coming, and I think there should be a ban.
Even with all eyes on the Supreme Court, states around the country, including many across the South, are already tightening restrictions, forcing women to travel far from home to get an abortion. Here in Cincinnati, abortion providers we spoke with say they've seen women coming from as far away as Oklahoma. And tonight, Oklahoma's governor signing a bill banning abortion as early as 6 weeks before many women even know they are pregnant. Clinics there were already booked out for weeks. We spoke with Nicole, a single mother of 2 boys. She was told she had to drive to Kansas to get an appointment.
What was that conversation like on the phone when you were trying to schedule that appointment?
I was devastated. I started crying. I didn't know what my next step would be. I just couldn't believe it. And as I was crying, she was amazing. She's like, you know what, we can't do it here, but I can help you find a different facility. It's going to be in a different state.
The impact of the new laws already felt in the states. And if the Supreme Court does in fact overturn Roe, change will sweep across the country.
All right, so let's bring in Rachel Scott. She's live in Cincinnati tonight. And Rachel, I know it's also primary day in Ohio. This issue, this leak from the court was front and center in these final hours today as voters were going to the polls. I also know the Republican Senate nomination up for grabs, a big test of former President Trump's influence given his endorsement there. But first, the news from the court, this draft ruling, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, this immediately becomes a major issue with these midterms approaching.
Yes, David, and I can tell you that both sides are hoping to use this as a rallying cry. Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer saying today the rights of 100 million women are on the ballot this November. And tonight, right here in Ohio, one of the most expensive and contentious primary races in the nation. Out of a crowded field, former President Donald Trump deciding to support author J.D. Vance. Tonight will be the very first test of the strength and the power of that endorsement, David.
You'll continue to follow that.
Yeah, so even though this was actually the day before, unfortunately, J.D. Vance did win the primary for the Republican nomination for governor. So who's not to say that Trump still isn't trying to play kingmaker somewhere? But again, the point remains that yes, a lot of women's rights are now going to be up in the air again, and it will affect a lot of others. And the simple fact of the matter is, as I said beforehand, I don't understand you pro-life people. This is just my personal opinion. I don't understand you. If you're pro-life, you're so worried about a child being born, but after the child's being born, where does the aftercare go? I've said many times on this podcast that right now there are so many kids in foster care, orphanages, and other child care systems that it's filled to the brink. But most of these child care systems and most of these foster care things are actually ran by religious-based organizations, which have been known to turn away parents, especially same-sex parents, because it doesn't jive with their beliefs. So you're okay with the baby being born, but once you're born, you're pretty much screwed. Alice George Carlin, because George Carlin said it in a much nicer way than I can say because I don't want it to come back and have to strike on this podcast. But the thing about it is, yes, it does. This abortion thing does become a midterm issue. And Democrats, as I've said before, are going to have a harder time this midterm because they don't have a lot of wins in the column, while Republicans will depend on conservative stupidity to get them back either in control of the House or the Senate, because that's really the main goal, to disrupt the slim majority that the Democrats had and have squandered this entire time. And Republicans who have done nothing this congressional session, I apologize, will pounce on it. And conservative idiots will vote for them again with no issue and no problem because, just like conservatives, they don't think before they speak or think before they act for that matter. So Democrats are going to have a hard time, even more so. They're trying to do actions in the event that, yes, once a decision comes, whether it's in June or July from the Supreme Court to uphold or overturn Roe versus Wade, Democrats try and do all they can. But as of right now, it seems like too little too late.
Draft Supreme Court opinion leak. Democrats scrambling in the event the court overturns Roe v. Wade. Rachel Scott is tracking it all this morning. And Rachel, Democrats and the White House realizing they've got very few options on this one.
Cecilia, good morning. Extremely limited options. Democrats have been desperately trying to find a path forward to protect access to abortion for millions of women in this country. They do have a plan, but they do not have the Republican support they need to get it done.
This morning, with the Supreme Court possibly poised to overturn Roe versus Wade, Democrats are scrambling to find ways to protect access to abortion.
We are looking at a broad range of options.
The Biden administration promising a fight, but not offering very many specifics. Over on Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats are pushing forward with a vote on legislation that would secure abortion access for millions.
Next week's vote will be one of the most important we take, not only this session, but in this century. Republicans will not be able to hide from the horror they've unleashed on America.
But that bill is almost certain to fail. Democrats don't have enough Republican support to get it passed. Only 2 Republican senators support abortion rights, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Both support legislation that would make a woman's right to obtain an abortion a federal law.
My goal is to codify what is essentially existing law. That means Roe v. Wade.
But Collins declared she will not support the Democrats' bill because it goes too far. This as states race to put their own rules in place before the Supreme Court ruling. Republican lawmakers in Louisiana advanced a bill to classify abortion as a homicide. As Connecticut's Democratic governor signed a bill protecting patients traveling there from states that have outlawed abortion.
No politicians are going to get between you and your doctor.
Outside the Supreme Court, demonstrators face off as investigations into who leaked that opinion draft continues. Chief Justice John Roberts reportedly telling a judicial conference the leak was absolutely appalling. Roberts saying he hoped one bad apple wouldn't change the way Americans view the Supreme Court.
And that is the question hanging over all of this. What are the political consequences of that leak? Chief Justice John Roberts reportedly said that it will not affect the decision-making process, but what upsets him is that it gives the wrong impression of people who are dedicated to serving the high court, George.
That's what you're worried about? Again, I have sat there and said this many a times. Yes, the leak was bad. Yes, the leak should not. The leak, for some instances, shouldn't have happened. I'll admit that wholeheartedly. But there's a reason why. Somebody took it upon themselves to let the company, to let the world, to let the U.S. know it's like, hey, this is what they're thinking. But everybody that's been talking about this conservative Supreme Court has been saying the same thing since Amy Coney Barrett pretty much got confirmed that when you have a heavily conservative Supreme Court, that they did question, and it's amazing they talk about this. They asked Brett Kavanaugh this, Samuel Alito this, Clarence Thomas this, and Coney Barrett this. Do you believe that Roe versus Wade is the law of the land? Samuel Alito sat there and said no. Kavanaugh said nothing. Only Amy Coney Barrett danced around it. Clarence Thomas danced around it. Now you gotta think, 4 people on the Supreme Court could possibly vote to overturn it versus 3 who are progressives. That's all I'm saying. And there is that fear there. So yeah, there is ramifications of it. That yes, there are going to be some states that are going to sit there and say, no, we're going to, like Connecticut, we're not going to let a politician or some religious nut job get between you and your doctor on your decision, versus states who are going to use abortions as homicides. Some things you seriously just cannot make up. All the more reason why it has to remain upheld. Because again, these are women's rights. If a guy could give birth and a guy wouldn't have an abortion, there would be abortion clinics as convenient as your Starbucks, convenient as your McDonald's or any other fast food location in your area. It would be convenient. Why? Because whenever it comes to a guy, nothing's questioned. Whenever it comes to a woman, it's pretty much that. What's that one show on Hulu that everybody loves? The Handmaid's Tale. There we go. Yeah, it's pretty much going to be that. That's what they want. I said, it is amazing to me that when it comes down to it, some men and some women do believe that if a woman is pregnant, that she should just carry it to term, regardless of situations or regardless how she feels about it. She's basically a breeding chamber. That's what they're doing with these people. And people think it's fine. I don't know how. Logically, it makes no sense. But then again, this is what conservatives are pushing. This is what religious people are pushing. Now, I'm not going to throw all religious people into this because, again, not everybody who's religious is a nut job. So I just want to throw that out there. But Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, 2 Republicans that did vote to confirm Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh in, are completely delirious. We're not going to support a Democrat-backed bill because why they won't support it? The reason why they're not saying it? The reason why is because the Democrat bill covers everything. So for example, if you're a hospital with a religious basis, and a woman comes in and says that she wants to perform an abortion, under the Democratic bill, that the hospital has no choice but to do it. But that's where Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins are saying that's too much. Why should we force a religious institution to perform services for a woman against their beliefs? Because they're taking federal money. That's why. If you take federal money, here's my thing. If you take federal funding, if you take federal assistance, if you take anything from the government to facilitate what you do for others in service of others, religion doesn't matter into it. If you take federal money, because federal money isn't religious. So you can't take government services and funding and then turn around there and say, well, we can't perform this abortion because it's against our religious beliefs. Okay, then let's take away your federal funding. Let's take away your federal services. You act independently because you cannot claim a religion, but still want to basically hold on to the state assistance. You can't. There's a reason why we separated church. There's a big ass reason why we separated church and state. This was it. But we will follow the story as it goes along. Like I said, the Supreme Court decision will not happen until July or June or July. But as of right now, I think the fact that it's leaked is very small in the moral justice of women just really not getting the rights that they should have already had and fully deserve. Because you listen to Fox News, because we covered that this Wednesday. Fox News was so concerned about a leak of a Supreme Court draft. That's what they're concerned about. Not the fact of how it would affect generations of women from time to come. Not the fact that a law that has withstood since 1973 may get overturned. It's already being circumvented because the Texas law is still being able to uphold. And trust me, there are at least 13 states out there that have trigger laws in effect. So in the event that this is shot down or overturned, you don't think for 1 second those laws are going to go into effect? Guess what? They will. At the same time, it's the women who are going to suffer because trying to say that abortion, just because you strike down Roe versus Wade doesn't mean abortions are going to stop. They're going to become dangerous because now women, instead of going to a place where they can get it done safely and at no harm to them, may resort to dangerous measures if they're unable to travel to states that do allow abortion. So again, the mortality rate could possibly go up, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But if you believe in the pro-life people should really be calling themselves pro-birth because, as I said before, if they really did care about pro-life, they will be arguing for more parental rights and services, daycare advancements. Oh, and actually things that actually can help. Like actually making sure of available services that provide free diapers, baby formula, things of that nature, aftercare for the mother, therapy for postpartum depression. You would think that these things would be offered for pro-life people would be screaming from the rafters. But you know what they're screaming about? They're screaming about forcing a woman to carry a child that she may not want because they believe the voice of the baby is not being heard. That tells you off the bat that pro-life people are truly fucked up. Yes, I said it. That being said, guys, we're going to move forward because, again, I got another story. Katie Wright, who is the mother of Daunte Wright. Why the name sounds familiar, you got to remember, because Daunte Wright was the individual that was shot by an officer who mistaken her gun for a taser. Yes, that story. Well, anyway, Daunte Wright's mother, Kim, was filming a stop done in Minnesota by police, even though she was nowhere near the scene. Even though she was on the other side of the road, cops still decided to go ahead and detain her. Here's the body cam footage from it.
She's good, I'll take it. No, don't worry about it. Come on. I need your driver's license. What's that? You're going to give me your driver's license or I'm going to take you to jail for trucking. You're driving a vehicle. You're going to go to...
Take me to jail. Just here, come to here. Come where I'm at. What the fuck?
Okay.
You know who I am, right?
No, I have no idea.
My name is Katie Wright.
Okay.
And you guys killed my son, and I'm going to videotape it. And if you take me to jail, I will sue you. I don't care. Do not ever touch me again. I don't care. Don't touch me again. You can send me a ticket, but don't touch me again. I'm not under no. You don't have that. No, I didn't have to get pulled over. You do not. Legally, you cannot ask me who I am. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Katie Wright, I'll send you a ticket in the mail.
Send me a ticket in the mail.
Well, then I'm going to send you another one. I will. I sure will.
So the crazy part about that whole thing, as you can see, she was nowhere near where the individuals are being arrested and handcuffed. She was simply filming from the other side of the interstate.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sorry about that. So the officer in that sense decided to go over there, even though you could pretty much hear someone else going, "Man, let that go." He says, "No, man." He said, "No, man, I gotta let it go." He decides to go over and try to absorb his authority, in which Miss Wright knew exactly what to say. "I'm not being detained. I don't have to give you anything." And of course, you hear him say, "Well, yeah, I need your license, registration." You hear her say, "I don't need to give you anything. I'm not being arrested. I'm not being detained." And the officer can't say anything. He even tries to say, "Well, I'm going to give you a ticket. You're obstructing traffic." Even though she was on the side of the road and traffic was not being withheld up, even more so that she was parked and she had her phone out recording their arrest. And the officer knew it and decided to walk away because he's got nothing to go off of. And that just goes to show you one thing about law enforcement. And I will keep saying this because it makes the most sense. You wonder why I keep saying know the laws in your city, your state. Know them better than the cops do. Why? Because cops who don't do their jobs, they keep on saying there's good cops out there, but the good cops usually get reprimanded, pariahed, and sometimes resign mysteriously. It's the bad cops that seem to get rewarded. But cops out there depend on the ignorance of citizens, especially when they know for some fact the matter, it's just like, well, I need to see your license registration. I say it all the time. Am I being detained? Am I being detained? I still say that. When an officer pulls me, I was like, if an officer just asks me a question out of the blue and I'm not being pulled over, it's like, am I being detained? And when they hear that, they go, shit. Because they tell you yes, or they tell you no. And if they say, no, you're not being detained, you say, well, then I ain't got to answer. I ain't got to do anything you want. Peace. And you can walk off. Because that's the law. And the thing about it is, if you are just as hip to the law as they are, they hate that. They hate that because they know they can't do anything that would be an unlawful arrest. And trust me, from previous experience, cops hate that because that means that the sergeant on duty and the commander has to come out, and it is not a fun time for that cop. Now, again, this is why I keep on saying there is a big disparity in law enforcement and how it's done. And even more so that even in that situation, recording, because at this point you have to record. Because cops' words are being taken, the law is already on their side, and it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's really the reverse. And having video evidence and putting it there for social media seems to be doing the job for maybe 7 out of 10 cases. But again, aside from that, know the law. Miss Wright knew the law. Miss Wright knew every bit of it. That's why that cop couldn't have it. Cop couldn't win anything, and that's why he walked off. And again, how I feel about law enforcement, I said, you know what? There are good cops out there. It's gonna be hard to find them because, like Chris Rock said, you can't have bad cops on the job because having bad cops on the job is like having bad airplane pilots. I'm already freaked out, scared of flying. Do I really want to see the dude that comes in there that looks like he just maybe having a rough day and just might want to end it all, and he's flying the plane that I'm on? Yeah, I don't need that. I'm already nervous and shaking like a leaf getting on a plane. But then to be in the hands of somebody who just may decide that today is that day to end it all, no, I don't need that. Same way with law enforcement. But then again, law enforcement in America, you train longer to be a plumber, you train longer to be a stylist, you train longer in almost every profession out there than you do in law enforcement. Law enforcement is usually 6 months and maybe up to a year. And the qualifications, still low. You make it to the academy, they put you on the force. Now, again, as I said before, there are things that need to be changing. Of course, with defund the police, no matter how you coin it, the intent is still the same. Stop weaponizing police and start actually assisting communities. But that goes right back into the capitalist system that depends on a working poor and depends on a rich class that benefits from them. But that's a whole other conversation we can get into another day. But moving right along, guys, there was another article that came out that people, we have this issue with conversations. We do. And I mean, you heard me talk, or you talk to me in person. I do like talk. I love a great conversation, whether it's over news, over anime, or video games, over Marvel, over DC. If it's good conversation, I'm for it. It makes me feel happy. Well, when it comes to politics, you always hear this all the time. Oh, we're so divided as a country. We're so divided on all these issues. Because I honestly believe that the reason why they keep on saying we're so divided is because some people have just forgotten how to talk to each other. That always got to be either they're right or they're wrong. There's never no middle ground. There's never no consensus. And above all else, there doesn't seem to be an agree to disagree. Well, some people have taken it upon themselves to combine speed dating with politics divisions. And I got to admit, it's kind of interesting.
Want to hear. In today's political climate, debating with someone whose beliefs don't align with yours can often be uncomfortable at times, or you might just avoid the conversation altogether. Well, one group is trying to bridge that divide with a new online service that matches you with someone who holds a different political opinion, like a political blind date. Our Mary Alice Parks has this story.
Division, polarization, toxic conversation. For many Americans these days, just thinking about politics is enough to raise their blood pressure, and talking to a neighbor can almost feel scary. Social media making it all the easier to live in an echo chamber, shutting out any debate, dehumanizing the other side. According to Pew Research, Americans view themselves as more divided in terms of politics along racial and geographic lines than people in other leading nations.
This particular one is once a year.
Cheryl Gravy is trying to change all that.
There's so much more in common that we have than what divides us. And Americans are really hungry for that sense of we the people.
Program director at the National Institute for Civil Discourse, her team helping to launch a new project, America Talks.
An opportunity for Americans who are so sick and tired of the division in our politics and division, how divided America feels, to come together in conversation with each other.
It's like a political blind date, except instead of being paired with someone just like you, the opposite. Volunteers log in over Zoom and talk to a stranger, purposefully someone with very different political beliefs.
There's a venue where you could actually have a civilized conversation and present your views. Be open to having your views changed.
A self-described libertarian, Brian tells us he has worked in coal mines and was eager for the chance to hear from someone different from himself without any filter.
I felt fantastic. I knew that they were going to put me up against somebody that had diametrically opposed views than I did. I was very surprised that he and I had such similar views.
Riley Sadler participated in her first talk with the group this week.
They said not to prepare anything. You don't have to bring anything to the call. Just bring yourself and just be prepared to talk.
Even as a young college sophomore, she's been working on campus to try to bridge the political divide, helping to run a group that sponsors debates and conversations. She met with us near her dorm a few days before her call.
Are you nervous?
I am a little nervous just because, you do take that survey and then you kind of go a little bit deep into what you actually believe, and you're like, all right, someone complete opposite, and you have to sit and talk to them. So we shall see.
She tells us she's keeping an open mind and that the hardest part might be the soul searching required to explain why she believes what she does. But she believes in the group's mission.
Do you think that there's a chance you actually have more in common with someone who's very different than you realize?
Oh, definitely. I think because we do like to put a lot of labels on things, especially with sports teams. You're either like the sports team, you're rooting for only them. There's not really a
red
in
team,
the
blue
middle.
team.
Yeah, you don't really find a purple team. But when it comes to issues, you do have to talk about them.
She tells me she knows some issues will be easier to talk about and find a middle ground than others.
Do you think there's the possibility you get paired with someone on Wednesday who has beliefs that you're too much? A bridge too far.
It could be, but I also think that's a really good learning experience and also a really good story to tell.
And that she agrees people often run in circles exclusively with those just like them.
Do you think that's part of the problem?
Definitely, yeah. It's really hard to talk to people, especially when stuff makes you uncomfortable, but I think the hard part is being uncomfortable in order to find those solutions.
Then it's time for her to log on for that big meeting.
I have my link, and it is time to log on and go into the room.
She tells us she enjoyed it so much, she'd do it again.
It was really respectful, but also it made me feel open to express all of my opinions.
A hopeful sign that there is still potential for Americans to talk it out.
Now, again, I am all for that. I am completely and utterly all for that. The simple fact of the matter is just that when you can have a conversation, cool, it changes everything. When you guys, I know for a lot of people, when you hear conversations, you usually hear people talking over you, going louder, not wanting to hear what you say, just beating your opinions. And I admit, it did start off as a conservative tactic because Trump did that and they saw the effectiveness of it only because idiots follow idiots. But I've been saying this all the time. If you could put two people in a room and have a conversation, but both have to be willing to listen, both have to be willing to listen as well as talk and have back and forth, you will find out that we do have some similar interests on opinions on a lot of things. But we have to remove the whole stigma. Like when people come in, it's like, I've seen all the time. Folks come in with a Trump hat on or a MAGA hat on or, let's go Brandon or something like that, immediately off-putting. In the same sense where I see people go, F Trump or, wearing Biden or Kamala Harris shirts and you bring in that to a situation. I can understand how that might be upsetting to the other side. But the thing is, if you have two willing individuals who can just simply talk and try to find middle ground, that's the key. Now, that's why I say America isn't divided. I always said that Trump was just the makeup remover that America needed, that we've always had these sides. But the interesting thing about it is if we could just find the middle ground, but it takes willing individuals. And I'm not just saying on the right, because some people on the left too can be a little extreme as well, but not as much as the right. I'm going to give a little bit of leeway to that. There are some people on the left side that are a little bit extreme, but not the vast majority of those on the right, because there's just something out there that just have to be right. But if you remove the barriers, if you put people in a room that have no choice but to talk to each other, and they're both willing to adhere to just simple conversation, things can change. I will fully agree with that. I just thought it was interesting. I thought that was an interesting project. What is also an interesting project is that finally Nashville has something I can be proud of. Even though I was born and raised here, Nashville finally has something to be proud of. And of course, it comes to the public library. Why? Because public libraries in Nashville, and I'm going to definitely make it my point to get one. They're actually coming out with I read banned books live with my library card cards. Now, it's been a while since I've had a library card. I will fully admit that. But with that being said, that makes you want to go walk into a local library and get that. Now, the reason why that is actually happening, guys, is because if you haven't already noticed by now, about a month or so back, we did cover a story that Nashville schools, there was going to be some schools in Tennessee that were going to be removing this book, Mouse, from their libraries because they said that because it didn't actually go with the curriculum, and that parents felt this was uncomfortable reading for their child. Keep in mind, Mouse was actually designed by children of Jewish parents who were there during the Holocaust, and basically the mice were just being oppressed by cats. And it's a very great graphic novel if you ever get the chance to read it. But people out there in Tennessee decided that, kids should be reading this because Lord knows they should not be reading cultural sensitivity books to actually gain some insight about the world. But anyway, Nashville Public Libraries are basically making a freedom to read campaign to where banned books like Mouse, Walk Two Moons, Flowers in the Attic, and a laundry list of other books that have been banned in Tennessee. Nashville Public Libraries are encouraging their kids to read by basically with that library card down at the bottom. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I love that idea. Because again, I'm all for the ones where, I've read those books. Granted, when I first read those books in school, I wasn't very fond of them. But at the same time, I understand it did make me culturally aware. It did make me aware of so many issues that were happening that were told in literature, especially To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird was one of the ones I first read. I thought that was a great book. Flowers in the Attic opened my eyes up to that. The Diary of Anne Frank, again, another great story of mice and men, War and Peace. And there's so many Fahrenheit 451, 1984. I can keep going down the list because I was thankful that a lot of teachers I had growing up actually put those books upon me and said, read them. And books expand your mind, expand your thinking. And that's what needs to happen with education. I don't mean to get on this educational platform, but that's what's wrong with education now. We're too busy trying to get them to pass standardized tests and getting them to recite things versus actually teaching them logical processing, critical thinking, how to actually approach a problem, not just memorize a path. That's the reason why I hate Common Core so much. But again, I just want to digress because, again, that's my educational soapbox. I like the fact that there's actually, we're encouraging books to be read in that situation, and that is all right with me. I'm just saying, I just thought that was pretty cool. Moving right along, guys, of course, the Federal Reserve decided to hike rates up. So how does it affect you? Well, if you're trying to buy a house or a car, or just simply trying to make it forward in life, or trying to borrow money from banks, might be a little more difficult.
Inflation skyrocketing, Willie Price tells us she's praying prices will come down soon.
Everything is high. Everything is almost unaffordable. Food is high. The gas is high. The electric bills went up.
Like the majority of Americans, she now lives paycheck to paycheck. These realities pushing the Federal Reserve to take action again today, raising interest rates by 0.5 percentage point, the biggest hike in 22 years.
Inflation is much too high, and we understand the hardship it is causing.
The Fed's goal, slow down spending to bring inflation down, which is soaring at 8.5%, a 40-year high. Prices spiking across the board from rent to groceries to gas. Today, the national average for a gallon of regular now $4.23, 10 cents higher than just a week ago.
I have not been able to do the complete fill up because, I'm on basically like a fixed income.
Now, higher interest rates will make loans more expensive, including new auto loans and credit card debt. Interest rates on mortgages today hitting 5.41%, up from just under 3% a year ago.
Our business could potentially start to dip based on the fact that people are going to have to change their buying habits.
Chicago restaurant owner Terry Evans worries she'll have to pass along the higher cost of her business loans to her customers as she tries to expand.
It's not an easy discussion because we still want to do right by our customers as well.
As for fears of a possible recession, Fed Chair Powell says there's nothing to suggest one is close. He expects more half-point increases in the coming months. The Dow rose nearly 3% on that news.
It might help. It might help if I'm unmuted. It might help. Oh, I'm blurry. I'm bad. I'm blurry. Come on. But again, as I'm trying to get my camera to work with me, guys, the only reason why you should be concerned, and you really should be concerned, that the Fed hike, that it's basically being raised up. And again, guys, this is the part where I sit there and I say, yeah, you should be highly concerned. Why you should be highly concerned is because whenever the Feds increase their rates, what that basically means is that it's going to be harder. There we go. I'm sorry, guys, about that. It's going to be harder to get a lot of things. Spending is going to go down, obviously, because folks got to tighten their wallets. Gas prices, credit cards. If you're trying to get a loan for a home or a business, it's going to rate higher. And at the same time, used cars alone are new car prices, and that alone says a lot. But again, it's amazing to me that the Feds decide, okay, we're gonna hike up interest rates to slow down spending and therefore try to avoid a recession. Why does this feel like a la 2002 all over again? I'm like the Fed. I'm like, it's like we were entering a war. We were entering a war with Iraq. Our spending habits were up again, and they raised rates. Now, granted, they may have not raised the interest rate as high as they did back then, but I mean, there's gotta be something there. But again, it's like with the banks, because the banks at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if banks on Wall Street asked for a bailout again. I would not. But for the people who don't have that same access as Wall Street and corporations do, yeah, it's going to change your spending. It's going to probably make you go out less. You're probably going to eat in more. You're probably going to drive less. You're probably going to drive what's absolutely necessary. And at the same time, spending and shopping will take a hit. But how do we fix it? We fix it the same way we fixed it the last time a recession happened. When you gave more to the middle and lower classes, spending increased. But if you give more to the top percent, they are going to pocket it. We have seen that happen many a times whenever corporations are giving tax breaks, whenever rich people are giving tax breaks, whenever you see companies that already pay zero in taxes, whenever they get more money, they pocket it and they pay their executives and their shareholders, and no penalty ever follows. So again, it's amazing how he's going to sit there and say, well, we're not expecting a recession. Funny. Said the same thing back in 2002, and then we had a recession. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this story as well because unfortunately with educators, we do have a few bad ones in the bunch, especially one that decided to choke out a student. And I wish I could make that up.
Violence in the classroom. A student choked the teacher, now facing charges tonight. We thank you for joining us at 6. I'm Natalie Pasquarella. That school teacher facing possible jail time after he's accused of choking a 12-year-old student in the classroom. It happened at IS 217 in the Bronx. The teacher, Chester Hingle, arrested Thursday, charged with endangering the welfare of a child. News 4's Melissa Colorado in the Foxhurst section of the Bronx with the latest.
This is that moment. Maybe it's just
blanked out, maybe, I don't know.
Elvin Rodriguez is giving his son's teacher the benefit of the doubt. Rodriguez has two boys who attend IS 217, School of the Performing Arts in the Bronx. On Thursday, police arrested 45-year-old Chester Hingle for allegedly putting his hands around a 12-year-old student's neck and choking him for 5 seconds. We don't know what happened before the incident. The boy was checked out by doctors and was later released. Hingle is charged with choking the student and endangering the welfare of a child.
He's like a gym sport teacher. He does a lot of things like basketball, soccer.
We have to understand that, these schools here, kids could get out of control. It can happen.
8th grader Ethan Rodriguez says he's never seen Hingle put his hands on any of his classmates, but he says he has seen his fellow classmates get out of control.
A lot of fights, and they talk back a lot.
A spokesperson for the DOE tells us there is nothing more important than the safety and well-being of our students. This alleged behavior is completely unacceptable and will be fully investigated. This employee has been reassigned away from the school and students pending the outcome of the arrest. And if convicted, we will pursue his termination.
Do you feel comfortable with him coming back and being your teacher?
Not right now. I think about a month I feel comfortable about it.
Endangering the welfare of a child is a Class A misdemeanor, meaning if Hingle is convicted, he could face prison time or probation. Now, that father that you heard from, Elvin Rodriguez, says he hopes Mr. Hingle gets some counseling out of this. That's the latest here in the Bronx. I'm Melissa.
Okay, so the thing I have with this, first and foremost, I can sit there and say this all the time, that yes, you really should never. Teachers should never put their hands on students. Then again, I come from the old school. I come from, when I was in the 80s and 90s, when I was going to school, teachers were feared. I mean, you never tested a teacher the way you see a lot of kids this day and age. You testing teachers because why? We were scared of ours. Our teachers had put so much fear in us that it was like they had the try me look 24/7. And trust me, we weren't trying them. Now, does that mean that now in 2022, does a child, have the right to talk outside the neck to a teacher? Absolutely not. We're supposed to be teaching children. We're supposed to be teaching these kids to be respectful, to actually follow a teacher, and actually go to learn something in school. We don't have all the full details of why that teacher decided to choke out that student, but I'm assuming as more details come out, I'm like, it is going to think like, did the student try to attack the teacher? Because it goes on the other side too. It's like, what rights do teachers have? I mean, you are the adult dealing with a child. So, choking a student shouldn't be the go-to. Choking a student shouldn't be the go-to. I mean, but then again, that goes to the whole point of, what was his resources at the time? What caused him to actually choke out the student? Was it, it could have been a multitude of things. But I fear what's going to happen to this educator is that, yes, you're going to be fired and possibly pursued for assault because I'm sorry. It's like I know a lot of kids these day and age will test teachers, but teachers that because of the society we live in, teachers can't do what they used to do. I remember a time when a teacher used to crack a ruler over his leg and say, "This is going to be you if you try me." Instant intimidation, but it worked. You can't do that in this day and age. You can't. And I'm not saying that teachers are powerless or teachers that. Oh no, teachers will sit there and say, "If you're not going to do it," and they're going to call the school resource officer or go another route and do everything by the book. But that's the tightrope that a lot of educators walk. Some educators have learned to de-escalate situations or just simply put the child out to not disrupt the rest of the flow of the class. And some teachers, they go to that try me. It's like back in my day and age, some teachers who were used to the old school method that are still teaching now may find that their methods are outdated. But again, we have very little information on that, aside from that teacher not being assigned away, which we all know that's suspended without pay. But we will follow up on that story because I'm quite curious to see why the reason why that teacher decided to choke that student. But that being said, guys, we're going to move to our feel-good segment because usually how the Frack we got here, we cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity. But hey, it's the weekend. Hopefully it's clear and sunny where you're out and you can actually enjoy life and get out of the rat race and breathe for a second, stop to smell the roses. We'd like to do so by putting you guys on a good, good vibes, some good vibrations, some good notes as we close up this podcast of 3 stories. And this first one is basically window washers. Window washers that really go above and beyond to make kids smile at a children's hospital, especially when you're dressed up as a superhero.
Back now with our play of the day and a surprise visit from the Avengers. Take a look at who appeared at Riley Hospital for Children in downtown Indianapolis. Yep, that is Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, and Spider-Man rappelling down the walls, spreading cheer and giving fist bumps when they're not out saving the galaxy. Those superheroes are actually professional window washers. They love making the kids smile and laugh, and the guys outside the window say the kids inside are the actual superheroes. And that is a wonderful children's hospital. I used to live in Indianapolis.
I thought that was pretty cool, but you gotta think, there's probably one kid that's, wait a minute, Iron Man can fly. Why you got a rope? I can't be, if I was that kid, of course I'm happy that I see Iron Man, but I'm be like, wait a minute, you can fly. Why do you have a rope? Or if you see Spider-Man, it's like, wait a minute, you can click, there's gonna be one. Look, call me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's one kid that's out there going, wait a minute, something ain't adding up. But again, just thought it was cool that they're actually doing some great things for kids, children in hospitals. Another one is about a lunch lady. We all know lunch lady in the cafeteria. We all got our stories and memories of them and what they've done for us, especially during those pizzas. I don't know about y'all, but when they serve that special kind of square pizza, I don't know what it is about that pizza, but when it's served that day, it is fire. I mean, it is the best thing smoking, that, or when they're doing hamburgers, a chicken tetrazzini, and I'm telling on myself. But anyway, wanted to cover this story about this wonderful lunch lady who definitely takes pride in her work, and it definitely shows.
It's School Lunch Hero Day.
I come to work for the kids and the staff.
And Vanessa Evans Floyd, aka Chef V, is serving up more than just that friendly smile.
We're feeding about roughly 1,000 meals at my location.
Chef V works for a company called Chartwell's K-12.
My day begins early, 5:30 in the morning, beginning with breakfast for middle school, K4, and high school.
And while lunch ladies have a certain reputation,
I know how you kids like them sloppy.
Lady, you're scaring us.
Chef V works hard to make sure her rep stays fresh.
You've also got a side hustle, rapping.
I've always been a poet. I've always did music. Cafeteria Shuffle was my first song that I actually wrote. It was catchy. You know, everybody liked it, had the dance move, all the line dancing, and I'm all about the line dance.
And since the Cafeteria Shuffle was hotter than the wings on Chef V's infamous Wild Wing Wednesday, she's dropping her second song today on School Lunch Heroes Day. It's called The Lunch Lady Sway. Even though this latest rap is only a few hours old, Chef V already has big plans for her next hot lunch hit.
So Shake and Bake is going to be my next song to release. It'll probably be about August, my video. So it's Shake, Bake, flip it to the left, now shake, bake, flip it to the right, now flip it over and shake it over your shoulder.
And after 2 years of a pandemic in which food service workers had to go above and beyond, working well over 12 hours a day, Chef V has one more verse for all of us on School Lunch Heroes Day.
School Lunch Heroes, whether big or small, we're School Lunch Heroes, and we stand tall. And whether you see us in the cafe or in the hall, just say thank you. That means a lot to me.
So well said.
Hey, ho, so catchy.
You know what? I ain't mad about that. Like I said, I bet the food she served be slapping. That's all I'm saying. That'll be the part that sticks for me. I bet the food she served be slapping, especially the fact that she definitely has a passion for feeding kids and just leaving an impact. Like I said, it's not always teachers. It's not always teachers in schools. Sometimes it is the lunch lady, because sometimes you know the food slapping when they put their foot in it when the food slapping. That's all I'm saying, because that just makes me think about my lunch lady back in my elementary school. She used to have there used to be some fire breakfast pizza. But anyway, last but not least, as I'm thinking about food, last but not least, again, I talk about this in my social media podcasts about Jobs treat their employees better, really making them feel valued. And that's the reason why employees stay there, not because of corporate loyalty. Because again, if you do invest in your workers, they are more ethically inclined to stay with you because you are investing in them, not actually profiting off of them. This one dental group out there decided to give an employee of 20 years a very, very special gift. And this is what I mean when I say to all those employers out there, do more of this.
I don't want to say it. I thought somebody was getting fired. And then when I got called to the front, I was thinking, good grief, I got a month left before 20 years. I know I'm not getting fired. And that's why it turned into Sure Shot.
We try to do something fun for our anniversary gifts. Sophie is our first 20-year anniversary. And so I reached out to Mike and said, Mike, what do you think about giving Sophia $1,000 for each year work?
To us, it's a small reflection of the greatness that they give back to us and to our, the rest of the patients, in the office.
I was humbled that day, but I am grateful. And it's an awesome feeling to be appreciated in such a manner. And the whole world knows that you're appreciated. That was awesome for me.
Let's move on.
Sorry about that. So, again, if you hadn't figured that out or just got the tail of that, so she was actually at this dental practice for 20 plus years, and the owners, the orthodontists there, decided to basically honor her 20 years of service by giving her $20K in cash. I have said it once, I've said it again. No pizza parties, no stupid ass theme days. If you just simply show your appreciation, you'll be surprised how many employees stick with their employers. Because she was stuck with them for 20 years, and now she has $20K as appreciation for her 20-year anniversary, which looks like she's set to close on the house. So definitely must talk to her. So this goes to show you folks, especially employers, treat your workers right. You'll be surprised what happens next. But anyway, that's going to do it for our podcast, guys. And before I do get out of here, I do want to thank everybody that liked, that shared, let people know this is live and up and running and commented. I certainly appreciate that. Some shameless plugging before we do get out of here. As you saw, probably, I do want to thank R&G Present Geek Salad for allowing me to share my podcast on their page. You can definitely check them out on YouTube as well as Facebook, R&G Present Geek Salad. Shout out to my buddy Vaughn at BigBZA on all socials, David Vaughn Westman on Facebook, as he will be coming back live with new shows. I've seen him kind of pop up with some random ones on Instagram. So definitely check him out there. Avon Westman on Facebook as well as BigBZA on all socials. Aside from that, guys, you can see my IG handle, BlackBox447, where you can follow me there, where I usually post reviews of movies, television shows, video games, and sometimes gym stuff because I do a couple push-ups. At the same time, I am all about promoting positivity and just motivating others to do better, to be better, because we need to do that in 2022. We need to turn the page. We need to move forward. We need to be progressive. And as I like to post things to encourage others as well as myself, I'm hoping it's contagious and we can move forward in doing just that. The ticker that you see at the bottom, guys, although it's small, let me blow that up a little bit bigger. If you copy and paste that in your browser, it'll take you to my link tree that has the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my podcasts. How the Frack got here, Get Bit, and of course, Selfman's podcast. Definitely like, share, subscribe, and let people know about it because I'm just trying to do something different. And like I said, if you like it, know somebody else that likes it, let them know. I'm all about open conversation, but you got to be willing to give as well as receive. Phrasing. Aside from that, guys, last thing before we call this a wrap. Again, be nice. It takes zero energy to be nice. It takes everything in you to be a dick. At the same time, show kindness. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what they could be going through in life. Maybe just saying hi, just saying hello, a smile, or just checking on them can make a world of a difference. If you have the ability to make somebody's life great, whether it's a minute, day, an hour, lifetime, go ahead and do so. The world can use more random acts of kindness. Aside from that, guys, COVID is still out there. Please wear a mask wherever you go out, especially if it's in crowded areas. Please be aware. Yes, the numbers are going down, but we still need to be vigilant. We still need to be preventative. Once we help each other, we can actually help ourselves, and that's how we get past this pandemic. That's how we get through this pandemic, not past. Well, I mean, we want to get past it, but we also have to get through it. But you guys know what I mean. As I'm tongue-tied right now. So, The last thing I'll say about how the fact we got here, it's all about staying informed. We're not trying to change minds or reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the news and allow you to make up your own mind by yourself, for yourself. But we are also giving you a lot of perspective to go along with it. When we're informed, we can do a lot of things. We're progressive. We're informed. We can actually move forward. We can right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then. Like just recently electing our first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. Yes, Kajami Brown Jackson, you have definitely made it, and we are so proud of you. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's why we keep asking ourselves, why does everything go up by our paycheck? Why do we keep electing the same different type of politicians, but still the same old game? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching. If you watch this on playback, please comment if it's live. I still want to know what you guys thought about everything we talked about today. Aside from that, take care of yourself and each other. We will all get through this.